Here's the Institute's Director of Forage Research and Plant Breeding, Dr. Wayne Hanna.
Developing food plot products and nutritional products is not as simple as just throwing some different seed in a bag or mixing up a few minerals and putting a picture of a big deer on the bag. We simply won't settle for that at the Whitetail Institute. In order for a food plot product or supplement to work, it must have two important characteristics. It must contain the nutrients needed to improve the quality of the deer, and the deer must readily consume it at the appropriate time when these specific nutrients will best benefit the deer. For instance, if your goals are to increase antler growth in your bucks, you must provide ample levels of digestible protein, minerals, vitamins during the entire 200-day antler growing cycle, which typically begins in March. Let's take a look at the factors involved in antler growth.
The three main factors involved in antler growth are age, genetics, and nutrition. First, let's discuss age. A deer does not grow its largest set of antlers until 5.5 to 7.5 years of age. This is due to the fact they do not reach full body maturity until this point. From the time a buck is born until he reaches 5.5 years, many of the nutrients he consumes will go toward muscle, skeletal, and overall body growth. Antler growth is secondary to these functions. So, until the buck reaches full body maturity, many of the nutrients do not go toward antler growth. This is why a 1.5 or 2.5-year-old buck will never grow his largest set of antlers at that age. The second factor in antler growth is genetics. Many people think they have small bucks on their property because they have poor genetics. In most situations, bucks have a far greater genetic potential than what is realized. The reason they do not reach their genetic potential is because they either weren't old enough or they did not receive enough of the third factor in antler growth, nutrition. Improving nutrition as a management tool is one of the most effective ways to increase antler growth. Why is nutrition so important? Why are the effects of quality nutrition so dramatic? Let's let the Institute's Director of Special Projects, John Cooner, explain.
The basic nutrients found in a deer's diet consist of protein, minerals, vitamins, fat, fiber, and energy. The most limiting nutrients in most deer diets are protein and minerals. To appreciate why protein and minerals are so vital for antler growth, let's look at what makes up an antler. The growing velvet antler is largely composed of a protein substance called collagen. This is what forms the antler matrix and gives the antler its shape. In fact, studies have shown that a growing antler is as much as 80% protein. That's why studies have shown a dramatic increase in antler growth when a deer consumes a higher protein diet. A research project conducted by Rod Marburger shows that when two buck fawns were fed two different diets, one with 12% protein and one with a 16% protein diet, the buck fawn fed the 16% protein diet had dramatically bigger antlers. Only a 4% difference in the diet, but a huge difference in antler growth. As the antler begins to harden, minerals are deposited on the protein matrix to give the antler its hardened structure. The minerals used in antler growth are taken both from the buck skeletal system and from the buck's diet. Those minerals taken from the buck skeletal system must be replenished from the buck's diet. It only makes sense that a deer would need extra minerals and vitamins in its diet, especially considering that the need for minerals and vitamins is extremely high in a deer's diet due to antler growth and the rich milk a doe produces. A hardened antler is 45% protein and 55% mineral. If a set of antlers weighs 5 pounds, this means that it contains 2.25 pounds of protein and 2.75 pounds of mineral. This may not sound like a lot, but keep in mind that a deer needs protein and minerals for many other functions in the body. Only the excess goes to antler production. Taken in that light, you can see why added protein and mineral in a deer's diet is crucial for increased antler growth. But what does all this have to do with the products we develop at the Whitetail Institute? Well, that's simple. We figure out what nutrients a deer is usually lacking at each part of its life cycle and develop products to supplement the deer with these needed nutrients. A perfect example of this is imperial whitetail clover.